for people to join us and we'll be ready for the off. Today is all about Flower Festival, or in this case, a festival of flowers. So the link's up. Live chat's on. Just one more minute and we'll get started. Hi May, welcome. Happy Monday. I hope the weather's beautiful with you today. It certainly is with us. Hi Glenys. Hi Lisa. Hi Anne-Marie. Welcome. Good morning. Or good afternoon here, actually. Believe it or not. Alida, hi. Welcome. Hi Ruth. We'll just give it a few more seconds and we'll get started. Thank you very much, Crafty Spam, whatever your name is. I do apologise. So you're coming up. Now we have this Monday live. Hi Helen. Anna. Hi Anna. I'm glad I know your name now. Hi Keith. Thank you. I'd like to use Monday to help people. We do have a lot of people that have never crafted before actually pop on to see what we're doing. Hi Patu. Bonjour. And it would be nice to take things back to basic. So this, although it looks rather colourful and like we've spent forever on it, it's actually really easy to do. So this is what I'd like to share with you today. Hi Deirdre, welcome. Hi Marion. So I'm going to pop that out the way just for a second or three and get our piece of card. Now I've got multifarious card, and this always surprises me when I cut my card out. The finished card always looks so much bigger, but it's not. Look, it's exactly the same. It's when you make toppers, isn't it? So what size card have we got today? We have 14 centimeters square. In inches, that is 5.5 inches. Multifarious is a super smooth 330 GSM card, ideal for just about anything. It takes water and everything we're going to throw at it beautifully. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to move my stamping paper out of the way, and I've got 3 very beautiful colours of the element ink. So we've got Pink Elephant, Blue Atoll and Lemon Drop. Now elements are dye-based ink, so it's water soluble, so you can manipulate it with water, alter it, paint with it, do all sorts with it. It's fabulous, fabulous all-round ink. You can stamp with it. Some people I came across this weekend said, oh no, I was in a craft shop and they were looking to buy element inks and they're going, oh, you can't stamp with that. And I'm going, well, I'm really sorry, but I'd hate to disagree with you, but you can stamp with it. They do stamp beautifully and make a really nice change. So I'm going to put, that's a nice juicy one, a little bit of Pink Elephant, a little bit, she says, Lemon Drops, equally juicy, not as bright, and some Blue Atoll. Now these basically are prime colours, so you've got yellow, red and blue, so together this is going to create all the colours. So I'm just going to add some water, plenty of it in this instance, and onto my card. Now already you can see the inks blending, so we've got a green coming on, we've got a purple coming on. So I'm going to try and smoosh it just a little bit more gently than I would normally. I want some of this white area at the top, but I am going to pick up some of that gorgeous purple that's been created. Look at that, just a simple dip. Now, with some spare card or paper, you don't want to waste that. So I'm just going to mop that up. Look at that. Makes delicious backing paper. Put that out the way to dry. And I'm going to dry this off a little. I'm leaving that on there because I'm going back into it in a minute. Hi Trudy. Hi Chris. Yes, me too, I'm afraid. I'm hoping they come soon, I really do. Hi Ruth. Yes, it'd be nice if they were in. So as you dry it, you can see that was a lot of water I threw at that card. And it's drying nice and flat. Now I'm going to avoid inking up any more of this pale area, but I do want some more of that purple. Such a pretty colour. So I'm just dipping back into the card. You're going to get a little bit, but that's not a problem. You never quite know what you're going to get with these. That's the beauty of it. I might just mop that a little. So I've got some tissue. I'm just going to, that's better. I've got too much there. And then we can wipe this excess up now. We've already made some backing card for another project at a later date, which is grand. So look at that. How beautiful. A simpler background you won't get. So easy to do. So effective. I love all these organic shapes. I love the way the colours blend and mix. It saves you all sorts of problems down the line. Now let's do some stamping. I've got a selection of flower stamps and some old ones, some new ones. So these are this is from the Dandelion set. So this is an old set and it's LAV 166. And I'm actually going to stamp this up in Pinecone. So simply tap your VersaFine Clair on. A VersaFine Clair is a pigment ink. This is a permanent ink, so you can't move it around with water. Once it's on, it stays on. Just be aware of which one's which. It took me a long time to get my head round which one's permanent, which one's water-based. Some are a mixture of both, like the oxides, a very different kettle of fish altogether. But they're all very beautiful to use. And a lot more versatile than you might first think. So there's my first layer. Give my stamp a good wipe. The second layer is foxgloves. Now again, another older stamp, and they come in a set of 2. And the foxglove number is LAV 475. And I'm going to stamp up using VersaFine Clair Fantasia. It's a gorgeous colour. I love stamping in colours rather than black all the time. We're celebrating the flowers, the beautiful colours. All the way through. Good afternoon, Marie. So from the large foxglove down to the smaller one of the set. And we can add a couple. We can do some second generation and third generation. In fact, I think I'll have a couple more of those because they look so pretty. There. It's great to fill a space if you need to on your card. Is using second generation. It also gives you an awful lot more depth than you would expect. Right. Now our next stamp is Seed Heads. And this one's LAV 466. So it's been around a little while. And this time, Portobello to stamp in. Thanks, guys. I love these because you get to colour them in. You can splash a bit of colour where you need to. Stamps like this are really, really useful. If you get a big block of colour, just stamp something like this where you can add a bit of brightness where needed. You get two in that set too. There's the one that's solid and this one that's open that you can colour in, which is great to use. Now just a couple more to stamp on. And again, I'm going to use the Portobello. I love stamping with colour. It certainly adds to the brightness. And this one is the Fairy Orchid set. I'm just using one out of a set of 3. Actually, as you can see, when they're when they've got a thinner stalk, you can actually bend them to suit. So, and it's always the opposite way. I was right the first time. I'm gonna have to re-ink it now. I've messed with it. It's always worth checking before you stamp that you've got it the right way round. And I think we'll have one more. I'll just straighten that up. I've got a nice space just here, just calling out for one. There. Right. Let's colour these in first before we get on to something a little more exciting. A little bit of magic. Not that this isn't exciting. I have here, I'm going to use one of my blocks to put my ink on, because I'm going to actually paint with this ink. And you won't see it. If I use this on my craft mat, you wouldn't pick it up. So I've got a size 4 from the 100 series. And I'm just going to add some water to that ink. This, like I say, it's water-based ink, so you can water it down like we did previously. And I'm just going to watercolour in our seed heads. It's nice, simple, straightforward blue. Nothing technical. Just nice and bright with the colour. And it really does make it pop. one by one. Adding that colour as we go. Yellow is always a good colour. If you make a dark card, if you get carried away, a drop of yellow never goes amiss. Can brighten lots of things up. But try water first, especially if it's a water-based ink you've used. And you can always mop it up with some kitchen paper and water. And that'll reduce the amount of colour on your paper. Just be careful what paper you use. Some will pile, so it'll start ripping layers off. This doesn't. It's nice and strong. So I've cleaned that ink off. So now I want a little bit of green sleeves. And I'm going to add some russet orange. It is nice to use some colours. I quite like the darker colours as well though. I think in the right place and for the right subject, they're perfect. So again, a drop of water. Doesn't look like I've got a lot on there, but I've got plenty to paint onto my flower. And it's sitting, although it's translucent, this ink, it's sitting actually quite nice on the colour that's gone down previously. And that's due to the quality of the element inks. There. Now I'm going to blend just a little of this beautiful orange. This makes a very nice palette for ink, I must say. I hadn't thought of using this before. I just normally use my craft mat, but it's nice to be able to hold it and move it. So I'm going to have just a little bit of that pink elephant. It's a bit like a fruit salad colour. Hi Rose, no you've not missed me. So this is just water. I'm just going to blend that little edge out. Just softens that edge just slightly. Clean that off. I think I'm finished with the palette. So before we go much further, I'm going to get a fan brush and we can lift some of that ink before we go any further. I love a fan brush. This one. They're excellent for this technique. Oh, excuse me, just trying to reach for my kitchen paper. There it is, got some ready. Simply drop it in some water and then we can tap that straight on. And we can just simply mop that up. Thank you, Patu. you get that lovely little lift of texture. Right, I'm going to dry that off once more. I bet that looked lovely in silver clay, that orchid stamp. What a wonderful idea. Beautiful. Right, we need to make sure this is really dry. I love that little hint of yellow here. It almost gives it a sunset look. Very pretty. Right, so now I've got an anti-static bag. Now this is a useful little tool and it's full of very fine powder. And what that does is take off any fingerprints, any oils from the paper and any fluid, leaving it safe and good for us to stamp with our Versamark. Oh, I dropped it on the floor. Here it is. Now Versamark's a clear stamp. It's part glue. They call it a watermark. You can do all sorts of techniques with this, but today we're going to use it for embossing. So again, from that old dandelion set, I'm going to add a couple. There's one. A couple of this stamp. There's another. I do apologise if you can hear that. There's a fly coming through the window. How rude. Shoe fly. It's going to drive me nuts, I can tell. And I've got opaque bright white embossing powder. So I'm just going to sprinkle that on. Tap it off. Pop that back in the tub to use again. Now these embossing powders tubs, they last ages, so don't worry if it's a bit smaller than you think it might be. They're only little pots, but they go an awful long way. So there's the first two on. Now I could heat set them, but instead I'm going to carry on. And this one is a newer stamp, and these are called Meadow Blossoms, and it's LAV 846. So I'm just going to tap on a little more. That one. I think we can have another one down here. Some more powder. When my best friend first showed me how embossing powders worked, I was absolutely amazed. It really was like magic, and it still fascinates me now. I still love it. I think I've got one more dandelion I can put on somewhere, and this one's going to be almost like a firework. I'm just going to use the head, so I've carefully inked up just the head part, and I'm going to pop that one and pop it in there. Actually, that's so pretty, I might use it again. My naughty. So literally just ink up that top part. And I'm going to put another one of those. I'm going to put it right at the top here. Why not? And I can use that powder right on my card. Oops. If there's any areas you don't want, simply remove it before you use the heat gun. I've got a little bit missing off there where my finger caught it, so I can just pop that back on. It's magic. It's away one last time. Make sure the lid's on and it's out the way before you get the heat gun out. Now with embossing powder, you're best to let your heat gun, whichever one you've got, come up to heat before you try and introduce it over. So, and then we just move it across the powder. You'll see it change. Melts it down to a plastic, so you get a lovely finish. There's all sorts of different kinds, different colours too, that do different jobs, some of them. Don't forget our fireworks almost at the back. How pretty is that? Let's let it cool a second. And whilst that's cooling, I've got a large Posca pen. So this is white and it's a 1.8 to 2.5mm nib. Give it a good shake. Posca pens are acrylic paint in a pen form. So you can use them with water. You can water them down should you need to and paint with them. But in this instance, we're going to use the old trick where we get a large brush and we tap it on there, trying to keep it loose. Try not to hit the camera. That's always a problem. That's better. I'm getting some big splats now. That's a lot better. There, plenty. That's so much fun. I love doing that. I don't do it very often. I do like doing it. It always feels a bit naughty. Hi, Rachel. Hey, Dawn. I didn't see you sneak in. So I'm just drying it off one more time. Make sure all that acrylic paint is dry. We don't want it to smudge. That should do it. Shoe fly. I'm going to add a little more colour to these two. So I'm going to use the russet orange. Just a little. Again, paintbrush, drop of water. Have you now? I bet that was fun. Stabby Ouchie in. I can't stabby Ouch till the weekend because I'll be working. I'm just fill in those circles. A lot of these flower stamps, if you emboss them, it makes painting them so much easier because the paint sits in those little ponds where it's sealed in. So if you've got a nice big flower picture, try embossing it before you paint it. Can make life lots easier. So we'll just finish this off. Another little burst of colour. Now it's time. Have a look. And then we can mat and layer it. So I've got my cutting mat. I have some lovely purple card for it to go on. Now today I'm going to use a combination again of tape and glue. I need to go and get my scissors. Here we go. This is just tape from my corner shop. It's nothing special, just what I use. It's not a branded tape or anything. When I've used lots of water, I like to use a combination. The tape holds it in place around the edge beautifully. And the glue, I'm going to use Bippity Boppity across it to hold down the middle to stop any kind of warping or any lumps and bumps happening. Now, let me take that edge off. So where's the tricky bit, isn't it? Removing the backing. If you've used a variety of colours, it's always worth checking out backing card to see which one suits the mood you're looking for, because it does change with different colours. This corner don't want to come up, so it's always worth having a look. A pink would have been nice, even a blue as a nice contrast would have looked lovely. Yeah. Now I've got my matting rules. These come in a set of 3 and each one has steps on it and different sizes. I'll show you how these work now. So I'm going to use this one, and this one is 1/4 of an inch, so that's 6.4 millimeters. And what you do is you slide it along until that edge literally clicks along the edge of your card. Hold it tight because it will move if you don't hold it, and then a sharp strong knife straight down. Try not to angle your blade. Same again, you see that slide and stop. Slide and stop. Slide and stop. See, I'm not very good at measuring and getting all the measurements right for matting and layering. So for me, this is a fabulous alternative that works exceptionally well. So same again. Actually, I don't need the tape this time. That middle bit is already held down. So I'm just going to get some Bippity Boppity around that edge. A little squidge in the middle. And I've got some plain white card that I can finish the matting and layering on, so we can give it a nice broad edge. Now, because I've used all glue, I'm going to put some paper on top before I squish it down. There. Lovely. That's all secure. They're amazing, Rachel. And then we can choose how big and which part we're going to do the outer layer on. The biggest one it comes in is this 1 inch one. So this is this bit. So we can see now that fits nicely on that edge. So I think we'll use that one. That's the largest. Remember where you're settling that edge to, because you can do it to the second layer and make it even wider, but make sure it's all in the right place before you do. One more. Put that knife away so it doesn't bite. No, I have to make sure I get a retractable one, because otherwise I'll take my fingers off, I swear. Let's take that out of the way. Got a bigger piece of white paper we can have a look at the results on. So there you have it. An absolute festival of flowers. Even using a dandelion to create a bit of a firework display for that particular flower bed. Here's my original, and that's today's. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. The matting and layering, it depends. We can get all sorts. You can get packs from your newsagents. Lavinia stamps, we sell black, so you can get black from us. We don't have any colours at the moment. I'm not sure that we're getting any, but you never know. Have a shop around. I'm sure you'll find some lovely colours that suit your needs. I hope you enjoyed that. I really did. Now, don't forget, this month's creative challenge is Flower Festival. So please feel free to use my idea and put your spin on it. Have a go. You can enter up to 5 cards, so don't be shy. Put them in. The more you put in, the more chances you've got of winning. The winner is chosen at random, so don't worry if you think you're not good enough. I'm sure you are. And it won't make any difference how long you spend on it, because, like I say, everything's equal. I hope you can join me on Wednesday. Wednesday, I thought we'd have a go at a Father's Day card, something a little bit different. So we'll be using, again, some elements, a different palette of colours completely, and maybe a stencil. So I hope you can join me on Wednesday on Facebook, Lavinia Stamps, 7:30 p.m. British summertime. I hope you can join me then. Until then, I hope your week's really kind to you. Have fun, enjoy, and take care. Bye-bye now.